That's great,
Go
especially
live.
since I'm concerned
the
about
button.
pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN 350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hey, it's Patrick. It's March, and believe it or not, it's almost time for spring cleaning. You're not the only one who's tired of winter this year, because your carpets and air ducts are too. Think about the dust, dander, and bacteria living and breeding in your carpet, upholstery, air ducts, and more with nowhere to go. There's only one real way to get rid of that gunk in your home, and that's by calling our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. With Zero Res's platinum-rated cleaning systems and patented ZR water, they will extract all that nasty out of your home, and it will look and smell like a home should. And with the Zero Res Gotta Love It guarantee, you know they will take care of you. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified from the Twin Cities' #1 carpet cleaner, starting at $129. And take $75 off your air duct cleaning as well to get that true spring cleaning feel. Call 952-ZERO-RES or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com right now and say you want the AM 950 special. Zero Res.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support. Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. Howl!
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 24, then a chance of rain and snow on Tuesday with a high of 41. Cafe Latte is unlike any restaurant you've ever experienced. Grab a tray and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Cafe Latte, Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul, or cafelatte.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and here with me is Ogimaa and Zoe. We discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Yes, they do. And hey, I just want to say we're live from Macho Hodor's studios here in the Twin Cities. We got Ogimaa up in the deep north, which we like to call it. And it's the first day of spring. And also it's Ho Chunk Founders Day. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get too crazy and I start talking, we're going to get with the news with Ogimaa that you don't hear anywhere else. Welcome, Ogimaa, as always. That's kind of your name, as always. Hey, welcome.
Hey,
I just realize I say that every time. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'll take it. It means good things, right? So, Buju, Anin relatives, I'm Ogimaa Ikwe. I am a citizen of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota, and I am here in north central Minnesota as well. And I want to talk a little bit about how you can get involved to flood the courts for water protectors who are facing charges from the action they took to protect Mother Nature, water, and earth during the Stop Line 3 pipeline construction. There's many ways that you can help online and in person, the most soon of which is this Thursday, March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. You can flood the court for Aiken County for water protectors. There's dozens of water protectors who are going to be on Zoom back to back for Rule 8 and motion hearings all day long, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central on Zoom. The Zoom room number is 161-098-8647, passcode 595564. That'll get you into the Zoom room to protect or to back up water protectors who protected the water and the land here in north central Minnesota throughout the Line 3 construction. There's also going to be that one's online through the Aiken County Courthouse. And then on Friday, March 31st, starting at 9 a.m. Central, in person at the Aiken County Courthouse is going to be the Flood the Courts in person, where water protectors are going to be facing trial. It's Aiken County District Court on 2nd Street Northwest, room 242A in Aiken, Minnesota, March 31st, starting at 9 a.m. You can show up in support of Stop Line 3 defendants during several contested omnibus hearings throughout the morning. And I know usually these events are really great. There's a lot of solidarity. There's people who are sometimes bringing breakfast and coffee and making sure that everybody is, feeling connected and supported throughout the process. Not just those who are going to trial, but those who have come to support them are important as well. Tuesday, April 4th at 9 a.m., you can go and support Don Goodwin and Winona LeDuc in person. Water protector Don Goodwin does invite you to support her in person in Aiken County and to join inside the courtroom during her hearing starting at 9 a.m., defending herself for resisting Enbridge's toxic Line 3 oil sands pipeline. If you can, bring artwork, bring friends, bring warm layers, make sure that you're comfortable because April 4th is, here in Minnesota is still not quite that warm. So you just want to make sure that you are dressed for the weather. But if you feel comfortable, wear formal court clothes and hold defendants and all of those who are impacted by this with awareness and sensitivity. So there is a violence that is brought by courts and by the law that came to, arrest and harm water protectors as they stood to protect land and water. And that violence has continued to spread because these cases have been open for nearly 2.5 years. Don Goodwin's case especially. So flood the courts and show your support for her as well. Again, that's Aiken County on April 4th from starting at 9 a.m. And Winona LeDuc, I believe, will be in that as well. Also, Tuesday, April 4th, you can support Tanya Abid for Zoom court. That one is starting at 1:30 p.m. and online at the Aiken County Courthouse. That meeting ID is 161-098-8647. Passcode again is 595564. Update your name and click on your profile picture. Some name ideas include supporter, defendant, supporter, court observer, and make sure your profile picture is something that backs up these water protectors as well. Wednesday, April 5th, Tara Hauska has an in-person motion hearing at 1:30 p.m. That is also at Aiken County. You can show your support for Tara Hauska by showing up in person on that day to support her and her stand that she has taken in the Line 3 pipeline resistance. It's an in-person motion hearing, and if the motions to dismiss are denied, Hauska will face a jury trial in early May. So those are definitely some things that you want to talk about. There's a continuance announcement for water protector B.A. Grandma, who would have had an in-person jury trial in Clearwater County later this month, but that has been continued due to a scheduling conflict by the prosecutor, and the jury has postponed until May 8th. And then Firelight Campment has an upcoming trial, and make sure you follow Firelight Camp on their new Instagram account and check out the launch of their website and save the date for their jury trial, which is upcoming May 8th. through 12th. So those are some of the updates that you definitely want to have to support and continue the fight against line 3 here in Minnesota. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in news today came out from the Daily Press. Cheekbone Beauty is an Ojibwe-owned makeup company, and they gave $300,000 back to their community. Jennifer Harper, who's the CEO and creator of Cheekbone Beauty products, spoke to people on International Women's Day, and she gave money back to her community after her vegan products, which are now carried by Sephora and JCPenney, are hitting mainstream, and people are getting really excited about these products. I'm pretty excited about these products. They use only biodegradable raw ingredients, and she started the company out of her basement, and she gives back to charity and makes sure that her employees get a living wage, and the company works with fair trade suppliers. So she just makes sure that her company and the people that are working for her and the people that are working to build those products for her are taken care of in the way that things need to be. So that is so exciting, and it looks like she's also opened her own laboratory to work with. It's called Raven Indigenous Capital Partners, and it is to make sure that they can employ scientists and have a lab as well for makeup, which is, I mean, everybody should feel comfortable in their own skin, and makeup is a fun way for people to express their confidence and work on self-healing and self-confidence. So really excited to see those things coming up. I don't know about you, Zoe, but I'm about to go order me some new lipstick. You can find it at cheekbonebeauty.com.
I need some base for my throw that out there. All right. Well, Ogimaa, thanks for the news as always. Just a kind of an update. I might be getting an update in the next segment of what's going on down at the rooftop news conference, and maybe we can talk a little bit of that if I get an update. So we're going to check into that. There's things going on. It looks like Joe Vitale sent me an update, so we'll discuss that a little bit, and then also talk about Founders Day in Ho-Chunk Nation here, which, as you all know, I'm a member, and I like to say a citizen of Ho-Chunk Nation. Correct. All right. Hey, we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Pinigigi Ogimaa, great job.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Native American rights are on the ballot April 4th. Vote for Judge Janet Protasewicz. She values Wisconsin's tribes as sovereign nations and recognizes Native rights with fairness and integrity. Judge Janet understands the importance of issues such as missing and murdered Indigenous women, treaty rights, and hunting and gathering. We deserve someone that knows these things matter. In-person early voting begins March 21st. Check your municipality's early voting schedule at vote.wisdems.org or call the Voter Protection Hotline at 608-336-3232. You can register to vote at the polls on Election Day with a photo ID and proof of residence. Your tribal ID can be used as a photo ID to vote. Stand up for your people. Vote for someone who will stand up for you and stand up for Native rights. Vote for Judge Janet Protasewicz for Wisconsin Supreme Court.
Paid for by the Democratic Party of Wisconsin as an in-kind to Janet for Justice.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition. Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogimaa and Zoe, before I get going here on just filling everybody a little bit about Ho Chunk Founders Day, there's a update here, and I'm just going to read a little bit here, and then we can discuss it a little bit, how important this is. But East Phillips won a favorable ruling that stayed the demolition of the roof depot. The East Phillips Neighborhood Institute, EPNI, was required to pay a $10,000 bond, and this holds a restraining order on the city of Minneapolis, not allowing them to demolish the building. Community members fear the demolition exposes residents to toxic arsenic, and the city plans to bring hundreds of trucks into the Little Earth community. EPNI is growing its strength and aligning itself with unions, environmental activists. They are also pursuing state dollars and ask for legislators to support HF 2093 and SF 1803. Ogimaa and Zoe, that sounds like pretty good news.
Absolutely. I mean, could you tell us one more time what those call letters were for the House and the Senate?
The legislature support HF 2093 and SF 1803.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm excited to take a look at those and to, hear what happens with this, because I know that the East Phillips community is really in need of this, and to hear that they have legislative support and ongoing support all over is just really great.
Yeah, I wonder how they came up with the $10,000, Zoe. For the bond.
Yeah, I was listening a little bit to the live stream because they're having their press conference right now, the same time as the show, and they were just talking about how they've been able to raise money through people being very generous and outside organizations too, I believe. And one of the people that was just talking, I found this interesting, was talking about they're just trying to lawyer up, get themselves represented well enough so that they have a chance to fight the city on this just catastrophic project that they're trying to push through. And one of the people speaking was just saying that the city has literally tied up all the consultants in the metro area are contracted with the city or involved with the city in some way, so it's a conflict of interest, so they won't work with the East Phillips neighborhood,
Wow.
folks. So they're having to go outside of the metro area to find consultants to help them, defend themselves. And seems like they do have some lawyers that are doing really great work for them, and they're doing it at, reduced rates, which is pretty incredible.
Well, Zoe and Ogimaa, I just the whole thing with the arsenic, raising the buildings and all that flying around, and then the idling of trucks. I mean, sometimes, you guys are going to think I'm really weird because you've been over to Wendy and our house. If the wind's blowing a certain way and there's planes on the runway at the airport, which is, a good 10 minutes away from me, I can smell that exhaust over here. If the wind's blowing right and they have idling planes, they sound like service planes with the propellers and stuff like that. And you can hear them idling from way, way, way a distance, but if the wind's blowing in the right way, you can kind of smell that. So I can't even imagine living across the street from that.
No. Yeah, it's
with
horrible.
hundreds of cars. And you're in Minneapolis now. How far? You're quite a ways from there now, Zoe?
Yeah, I'm, near Powderhorn Park, so it's just really, really, really close. I mean, it's in our backyard too, and I'm just kind of astounded that this feels like such an issue that's, affecting a specific area of the Twin Cities, but I'm just like, there's so many surrounding areas where, white folks live too. Like, I feel like they should be just as much up in arms about it as, we are. Of course, they won't face the effects of it quite as much, but it's just going to affect a lot more people than I think people are willing to recognize,
Well, and we would say the same thing about water too, and the lack of support with that. Ogimaa,
Ogama's face right now.
well, and Ogimaa, you've been reporting the news here for a couple of years now, and I feel like, and this is just an editorial, and I want to see what you have to say. I feel like we got out of a deep hole with this last federal election, and now it seems like they're starting to dig some more little teeny holes, the other party, and here we go again. This is the things that catapulted Bernie Sanders, and a lot of the reason why people voted for Trump is because of this BS that's going on, this double standards and talking out of both sides of the mouth. But I hope I didn't answer my question to you. I just went on a roll there. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I guess I'm not sure officially what your question is.
Well, you've seen how the pendulum is switched. We're really upset with the red party, and now the blue party is doing the same thing. And it's almost have you seen in the last year or so that after that victory, we have now it's the pendulum swinging back, and our allies and supposed parties are now wanting to put things out in Alaska, and
Yeah, no, yeah, the Willow Project and some of those other really devastating news things that we've had happen coming out of the Biden administration, and even here with some of the Minnesota legislators too. There's this really big push for green energy, but that green energy comes at the cost of mining that's needing to be done to build those batteries for some things like solar and some other things like that. And there's really there's a future in things like hemp and making batteries out of those types of things. And we just don't have enough people talking about it, and definitely not enough government backing for it, because I think that there's a lot more power concentrated within corporations than people realize as well. They have the power to lobby our legislators. They have more people who can call, who have some push and pull with these people who are deciding things for us, for our communities. And it's really, it can make you feel powerless sometimes, but it's really important to recognize that we have these issues. And there's that saying that the left wing and the right wing belong to the same bird. And it is okay that we when we align with those politicians and people that we know that are doing good work, that we support them. And it's also okay that we raise our voices and we call out when we're seeing that double standard, when those people that are there representing us have lied. I know one of those big examples was Governor Walz. I support Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan, but Governor Walz said before he was elected that he wasn't going to let Line 3 come through. And then, some labor unions and some other places, they lobbied, and, that it went through. And it was a big letdown to the Native community that they worked so hard to garnish the vote from. And it really felt like a betrayal. And we really need to take time to acknowledge those things so that we can move forward and build better relationships.
Yeah, totally acknowledge it. And one thing I want to remind everyone too, and we talk about Walz is from a Republican area and has won as either a congressman at one time and now governor. So like Obama, he's a centrist. We were hoping Obama would stop Dakota Access Pipeline, and we didn't hear from Obama for the
Months.
6 to 9 months after before his election ended. And so paying attention, we have Amy Klobuchar, who's also a centrist, that gets 68% of the vote here in this state, and that's a trick and a half itself. So you got to play politics and be really good at it, and talk out of both sides of your mouth, and all those fun things. So I'm going to just switch gears right now, real quick here, because we're going to have Bob Blake on in the next segment. But I just wanted to really acknowledge Founders Day here, Ho Chunk Nation's Founders Day, which is observed today, and on March 19th, 1963, the Wisconsin Winnebago Business Committee was officially recognized by the U.S. government in accordance with the Federal Indian Reorganization Act. Founder Day is Ho Chunk Nation's holiday to recognize the committee and tribal members that help establish our sovereign nation. And I just want to read some names here. There's a picture that we should pop up real quick, but one of them, they have Helen Milner. This is Mary Nattol, Bernadette Talmadge, Richard Day, Lorraine Winishek, Angela J. Lemire, James Smoke, Edward Littlejohn, and Wilbur Blackdeer, Robinson Johnson, Amos Kingsley, and Gilbert Lowe. Those are the people that really helped start out the nation. And I just wanted to give them a shout out and wish everybody a Ho Chunk Founders Day. To everyone out in Wisconsin, Minnesota, we just want to say that our oral tradition that we've had always been here, and more likely we always will be here. Our history is not told in history books, but spans back beyond possibly 3 ice ages. The Ho-Chunk have traditional lands that go from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. So happy Ho Chunk Founders Day, and we'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake. Boost your immunity and help protect your community. COVID-19 is still here, but it's not too late to get your booster. Staying up to date with vaccines can help build protection that has decreased since your last shot and provide better protection against newer variants. Boosters are an important part of protecting yourself from getting seriously ill from COVID-19. To learn more and schedule your appointment, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Your Blue Line Extension Project wants to hear from you. We are working on extending the Blue Line light rail into North Minneapolis, Robbinsdale, Crystal, and Brooklyn Park, and connecting it to our growing transit system. Tell us about your neighborhood, your business, your family, and what you need from your Blue Line. Learn more and share more of your story at yourblueline.org. That's yourblueline.org.
Hello, Minnesota. This is Tom Hartman, and you can catch me every weekday from 11 to 2 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's smart radio for smart people.
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. We have big news. We've moved to North Minneapolis.
Why did you move?
As a Black business owner, I wanted to be part of the North Minneapolis community to provide jobs.
Are there other reasons you moved there?
We have bigger new equipment and outgrew the other location.
What kind of new equipment do you have?
We have new equipment that allows us to print quality signage and banners. We also have a new inkjet printer, printing larger sheets, improving production efficiencies.
Is the new location easy to find?
It's not only easy to find, it's more convenient with plenty of parking. We are now located on Washington Avenue North off I-94 and the Dowling exit.
So do you still print everything?
We print more than everything. We have over 175 Google reviews with a 5-star rating. Call 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. We print everything.
Over 98% of people who experience sexual harassment or sexual assault in the workplace choose not to report it. Whether it's the fear of retaliation, belief that a bystander will report it, or worry about career advancement, at MJSB Employment Justice, we help employees take a stand. I'm Bree Johnson, partner at MJSB Employment Justice, a 50% women-owned law firm. If you feel unsure what to do following sexual harassment, we will be your voice to speak your truth.
Be heard. You deserve better. Contact us today for a free consultation at mjsbjustice.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Cloudy tonight with a low of 24, then a chance of rain and snow on Tuesday with a high of 41. Cafe Latte is unlike any restaurant you've ever experienced. Grab a tray and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Cafe Latte, Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul, or cafelatte.com.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Native American Community Development Institute.
Right on. Yes, it is. Hey, we're here with the Solar Bear with the solar news, and I see he's got his solar glasses on out there with the daylight savings time. Happy spring and happy Ho Chunk Founders Day there, Robert Blake from Red Lake. Ho.
Oh, that is just cool, man. It's the Founders Day, Robert?
Yeah, for Ho Chunk Nation.
Right on,
1963.
man.
Yeah, definitely.
Right on.
Well, we got some crazy stuff the president's doing out there. He's vetoing the retirement portfolio managers to weigh out environmental and social. So he vetoed the Republicans trying to turn that over. And I like the fact that I can pick who my retirement is with. And I left out a few banks that support pipelines in my when I worked out my stuff with HR. Oh,
Well, and I mean, shouldn't we have the ability to do that, right? I mean, we're supposedly we're in a free market system, Robert, and we shouldn't be steered one way or another with what we can do with our money. And that's the other thing, right? Like that's like voting, right? I mean, I think that we should be able to vote with our money, and choose who we want to manage our retirement accounts and invest in those companies that we feel are going to do what is right for our community and our environment.
exactly. Hey, you've been running around all the country here in Minnesota too, spreading the solar word. How's that been going for you? I know you're a busy guy because I tried to text you and tell you a few jokes, and sometimes it takes a while for you to get back to me. With LOL.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really busy with all this stuff. And what's really, we've got some really important things happen up at the up at the state right now, with community solar gardens, energy storage bills, solar on schools, on public buildings. We're also asking the state legislature to provide some money for the brownfields. So meaning old, areas where we used to dump garbage at, turn those areas into solar gardens, because they're not doing any good just being there. So
Right.
let's turn those brownfields into solar gardens and produce energy, and we could make use of those areas. So those are some really important like legislative issues that are happening up at the state right now. That MNSEA, the Minnesota Solar Energy Industry Association, Fresh Energy, a lot of the same, characters, I guess you would say, that were successful in passing the 100% clean energy bill are trying to get these other initiatives passed while we have this wonderful legislative body that's there for us.
Hey, Robert, 6 years ago, you were talking about solar panels on schools, and I thought that was brilliant. And you could work it in an industrial arts and make some panels and just have it you were talking about that a long time ago, and I'm glad that it's still out there, and it sounds like it could be coming to fruition here.
Yeah, well, what's really nice about it is that obviously because of we got the legislative bodies lined up the way they are right now. No one could have seen that happen. But I think that we've just seen in cases all around the country where school districts have, decided to go green, so to speak, are seeing the savings, in their own building. And with those savings, I mean, they're putting them towards teacher salaries
Yeah.
and using them for after school programs, early education. I mean, there's so many things that are happening, with this, and I just think that we just really need to go all out here in the state of Minnesota. Our kids are so important. Education is so important. Our teachers, I mean, they go beyond and above the call of duty every day. And honestly, our children are our future. So I think that we just need to invest in them heavily, and which is why I've been pushing this for the last 6 years, and I'm so happy to see that this is actually starting to happen. And it was about 6 years ago, I think we did that. Maybe it was 5 years ago, but we did that. We were going to the St. Paul, teacher meetings, and to the district meetings, and also Minneapolis. So it's really nice to see all this like actually coming to fruition now, like you said, Robert. And it's been a lot of hard work, but I really do believe that the kids are worth it, and we're only here for the next generation, Robert.
Right on. Hey, Allison has a question. She's in a condo building. Are there any programs or small condo associations out there? Do you know of, just offhand? I know we talk about the big farms and the tribal nations, but I thought I'd just quick ask you that, seeing that Allison asked it.
Yeah, great question, Allison. So two things on that that's currently happening right now. First thing, you can go ahead and you can subscribe to a solar garden. Okay, that is your choice as being a resident and being an XL customer. If you're in XL territory, I'm assuming you are because you're in a condo probably. But um, and then the second thing is we currently right now up at the legislative, we are working to be able to allow homeowners associations like condos and townhomes to allow renewable energy, to allow solar for their residents. So that's another bill that is being currently heard right now, Robert, is the whole thing with the homeowners associations and allowing renewable energy and solar to be put on top of the roofs for their residents. So that's exciting. That's something that's exciting that's happening right now currently.
Bob, you've been on the show for a long time, and we've been talking about all these issues, and it's great that it's coming to fruition again. But how can we push the government to support, and I think that's financially support, like hemp batteries and batteries that can really help things out here. So they're becoming more and more controversial, it seems like, especially the other side. And everyone's talking about the batteries not being good for the environment, but it's getting out of fossil fuels is really good for the environment. But is there a mechanism? Because I know you've been working side by side with the government and things in like the school rooftop thing. That's thing that sounded like a great idea. Of course, the government would have do it, and now they're looking into it.
Right. I mean, that's a great question, Robert. And I think what it really comes down to fundamentally is we need the politicians that we need to vote, right? We need to vote the right politicians that are going to make that are climate champions. I'm sorry, but I feel like maybe we just need some younger politicians and some new blood in these legislative bodies that have a future to think about, right? Because they're going to be voting for things that are going to affect them, and so I think that is like one of the main ways. And then one of the other ways is like doing what I believe everybody is currently doing right now, which is they're switching over to getting electric vehicles. They are putting solar on top of their home. I mean, they are instinctively most of society is like moving in this direction. Almost all of society is moving in this direction. And 70% of Republicans, 70% of Democrats want renewable energy. It's just that 20% that we don't know how to get there. And so, I think it's just continuously recycling, continuously making those little moves that, when you add them all up, really make a big difference, right? And like I said, one of the most important things is to vote in climate champions. I don't care who it is, if they don't have like on their one of their priorities, either number one or number two, that climate change is one of their priorities, I'm not voting for them. Sorry. So if that isn't one of your priorities, then you're not going to get my vote. So I think that's one of the main ways to do it, Robert, honestly. But there was a good segment. Jon Stewart did a good segment on climate change, and
Yeah.
he really tackled this problem. It's called The Problem with Jon Stewart. And
Yeah.
it was a really good show because it really showed the complexity of the problem, right? It's not just
Right.
like you buy an electric vehicle, you put solar in, that's all you gotta do. There's so much more to this that needs to be dealt with. But systemically, I think for you as an individual, vote in climate champions.
Right. And turn off your stuff. One of the funniest thing, not the funniest, the weirdest things is we're really recycling more than ever, really saving more energy than ever, but we really aren't because everything's plugged in, whether it's a cell phone. I mean, this is different than it was 20 years ago. We plug in so many things now that we didn't 20 years ago. It's insane.
Yeah, and Robert, like, the previous person that owned my town, the person I bought my townhome from, um, their bill was like $180 a month, $160 a month, something like that. It was right there. That's what they told me. And I just unplugged things. But I'm educated in this area. I used, with those power strips, right?
Right.
And I'm telling you, Robert, my bill is like $80 a month, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes it goes lower than that. So, I mean, it really you think about that. It's that easy. I'm saving $100 a month just because I took things out of the socket, right? And
Right.
that's really that simple. So,
Wow.
I mean, if people could just do that, unplug some of their appliances, you'll be amazed at how much energy you can save because it's still drawing energy, right? When you have that microwave plugged in, it's still drawing energy.
Yep. Definitely. Hey, Robert, thanks for stopping in. Great to see you as always. We've missed you. I'm glad you could come on Monday. You are listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and that was Robert Blake with Solar Bear with the Solar News. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Why must the world be so cold? They've gone against what was told. Thinking rape is cool? Think about it. They think it's not wrong. Violence against women, the rape, the abuse, the emotional, physical. They all hold the hate. Think about it. Is it right or wrong? What attracts you? I'm not saying no names, but you laugh. Talk about it like nothing is wrong. Think about it. They all hold the hate. Gotta stop the violence. Stop the hate. Think about it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
The Senior Linkage Line is a free, statewide service of the Minnesota Board on Aging, helping older Minnesotans and caregivers find answers and connect to services and supports. Questions about Medicare, transportation, looking to move to senior housing, overwhelmed with prescription drug plans? Call the Senior Linkage Line at 800-333-2433 or visit trellisconnects.org, where we help people optimize well-being as they age. That's trellisconnects.org.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
I had to do it to get that right there. So we just got a message, Ogimaa, that we got to get going here and end the show quick because Zoe's got to go pick up her sister. So we got to talk really fast.
Talk really fast for the last 10 minutes. I think we can manage that.
Yeah. So real interesting. And I think with talking with Robert here, and we bring it up all the time, and it was interesting what he had to say is voting and the Green New Deal and things like that with hemp batteries to make sense. So you're not, I don't know, Zoe, you were calling it something. What were you calling it? Greenwashing? I never heard that before. What is that exactly?
Yeah, greenwashing is a tactic that we're seeing happen a lot more lately in regards to renewable energy or trying to become less dependent on fossil fuels. And it's just the idea that, companies are promoting these alternative things like lithium batteries and saying that they're going to be good for the environment when really there's actually some really real and important factors of them that contribute to more climate change, like mining in indigenous lands. So, and Ogimaa can speak to it too, for sure.
Yeah, greenwashing is basically where they make it sound like it's a sustainable option, it's a green option when really it's not, just like Zoe said. And one of those big things is, electric cars and the whole electric car thing using the lithium batteries. You have to mine for the lithium, you have to mine for the copper, you have to mine for the nickel, you have to mine for these rare metals that are used to make these batteries. The same batteries are actually in your cell phones as well. So, those people who like to really upgrade every time a new cell phone comes out, that's adding to that problem. But hemp batteries are a really good solution. Hemp batteries can last 8 times longer than lithium batteries. And that's according to Andrea Northey, who published a paper on hemp batteries in just July of last year from the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Wow.
And talking about how the power of hemp batteries could really make a big a big hit in, Tesla's got a new 1,000,000-mile battery that's made from lithium iron phosphate, and it's supposed to last twice as long as conventional lithium ion batteries. And lithium iron phosphate is technically more abundant and cheaper than lithium ion, but it still can't compete with hemp. Hemp is still 8 times more powerful than a lithium ion battery, which I'm assuming is probably at least between 4 and 6 times more powerful than a lithium iron phosphate if it's only double the life of a lithium ion. So they'd be able to make, it's called graphene is what it's called, and they'd be able to make that for like 1,000th of the price of what lithium is costing right now. So why people like Tesla are not investing in this is just kind of beyond me.
Follow the money.
Well, yeah, exactly. Follow the money.
Ogimaa, I gotta jump in here too. So Bob Blake from Red Lake brought up Jon Stewart, and I don't know if you've seen on TikTok or I think he's on Apple TV. What he said about 70% of this carbon is caused by these big companies, and they're the ones behind pushing everything from recycling, and then the narrative blames us as consumers as the ones that are causing all this carbon and our carbon footprint and all that, where if it's really big business and that's really doing harm to the environment, and it's weird how the psychology has gone on, Ogimaa.
I go back and forth on this one because you're right. The amount of pollution that you as an individual person or as a family or even as a community are producing in general, I mean, there may be some outliers, is just not it's not going to make a dent in the level of pollution that's happening in the world. Even if you go to zero waste and you have no emissions in your individual life, we have to ask these companies to go to zero emissions, to not just greenwash and try to make things quote unquote carbon neutral. That's like carbon neutral. The way I explain it to people is bogus, because it's like saying I ate a vegetable, so that means I can have a Twinkie, and that they somehow cancel each other out, and that those calories are gonna disappear because you ate celery before your Twinkie. That's not how it works. That's not how carbon works. That's not how it works in the atmosphere. But on the other hand of that, the other side of that coin is that these companies will not stop producing these materials, these plastic silverwares, these plastic cups, these throwaway things, unless people stop buying them.
Right.
So you have to put your money where your mouth is and to kind of demand these companies and go, no, I'm not buying styrofoam plates. I don't want styrofoam takeout containers. I don't want plastic straws, and to stop buying these products. But those companies are and at no point are their pocketbooks, being made, strained enough for them to consider those types of alternatives. So we really have to push these companies.
We all know how Wendy is, and she'll let the restaurant know if we get a styrofoam container. She'll let them know, and she's changed. And I think if people bring it up, if they're going out to eat and they're getting this to-go thing that's a styrofoam and that won't break down for 10,000 years, that they should demand paper or something that's biodegradable. And speaking up, though, I think is what you need to do, right?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, and kind of wrapping your head around those timelines too, when you think about, like, I try to think about this every time I need to go into a gas station and I'm thirsty and I don't have my water bottle with me, and I look at a bottle of water and I go, am I thirsty enough to let that bottle of water live on this planet for another 400 years after I'm gone? Is my thirst right now worth 400 years of pollution on this planet? And you have to start asking those questions in your daily life as you're doing your shopping and doing those things. And, asking even your grocery stores. My grocery store, I've mentioned to them several times when they have some produce that they may be like a head of cauliflower or broccoli that they break some of the parts off of to, try to sell what's still usable. They're trying to not be wasteful, but then they take the part that's still usable and strap it to a styrofoam pad and wrap it in plastic wrap. And I'm like, you could just, put a rubber band and a price tag on it. You don't have to, you waste all that, because it really is a waste.
Well, that's crazy. So I mean, weird things happen. You know, I'm a boomer here, and you guys don't boo me here. I'll applaud the boomer of me, but um, you know, when I was young, we used to bring back bottles, you know, and get money for them. And so, if you know a pack of cigarettes was 28 cents, if I could get back like 5 bottles, I could buy a pack of smokes back in the day. You know, and now there is no. It's all plastic, and it's all bad for you. But, you know, why aren't we doing the things that we used to do that worked, you know? Yeah. Wow. What a show. Ogimaa Pinigigi for the news. It was great having you on, as always, Zoe, to get the perspective of, what is it, Gen Z? Yes. All right. Well, we'll say that. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote, vote, vote. Free Leonard Peltier now.
The local advertisers you hear